Hola, buenas. In this video, we're going to be giving you guys an honest review of our first year here in Spain. This is the month of June, and we have been here officially 1 year now. And so we're going to be going over the pros and the cons of living here in Valencia, Spain, what we like, what we don't like.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
And we'll also let you know, if given a chance to do this all over again, would we still make the same decision
Right.
to move to Valencia, Spain? Listos?
Vamonos. Do, 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 do.
So the first topic we're going to be hitting on is our relationship and how our relationship has changed since we made the move to Spain. You know, when we lived back in the United States, we had a very close knit community of family and friends that lived in San Antonio, Texas. And so we could rely on them for different things relating to our kids, relating to ourselves. But moving here to Valencia, it's really been completely different. We knew nobody before we made the move. And so it's really forced us to lean on each other quite a bit more. One, just to do the most basic things like get ourselves signed up with the city hall, to find our apartment, to find our children's school. And so it's forced us to grow together, right? It's kind of put us in a pressure cooker and like, okay, let's go. And it's been a really nice learning experience for both of us. We have had some trials, but I don't think it's been anything negative, really.
Yeah, and that's normal with all relationships, right? Like it's not all rainbows and butterflies all the times. During those times, bad storms come through, and you just have to ride it through or try to understand what's going on in that moment and move on from it, right? So it's forced us to move on to holding on to particular things just because like we're here all the time together, and it's just giving the side eye can only last for so long. So yeah, it's about working it out and honoring each other's emotions and honoring each other's feelings, and respecting that too, because that's and also another particular part that makes it special to the respect that we have for each other that's grown.
And like we said, it's not always positive. It's not always easy, but it's just part of life, right? It's part of the peaks and valleys, right? You know, and so I'm glad that we're going through this because it's forcing us to grow, right?
Yeah.
Growth happens when there's resistance, right? It's not only when it's easy. And so that has been a big positive for sure. Our
Yeah.
relationship has really grown and it's nice. It really is. Kind of the second topic we wanted to hit on. I spoke about how my work has changed since moving to Spain. Before I worked in a dental office, right, seeing patients, and now I can't work here in the same capacity or in the same role, and so that has been a complete change for me, to being home and learning to do a whole new skill, right? Making these YouTube videos, learning from scratch, you know, taking classes online, getting used to talking in front of a camera, which I'm not entirely used to yet. Uh, and walking around with a camera too, right? Walking around, filming things in the city. Uh, you see everybody doing it nowadays, right? Everybody's walking around with their phones, and but we come from the generation. I think the last generation that didn't grow up with a cell phone, right? I didn't get my first cell phone until I was 20 or 21, and so it's still something that I struggle with, to walk around with a camera and be pointing a camera at people's faces, be pointing a camera at my own face. Um, and so that has been a good learning experience for me because it's kind of helped open me or get me out of my shell in that respect. And which up until recently, I mean, making YouTube videos, it's not like you put out your first video and you start making money, right? You don't start making money like that. You have to reach certain levels, and then you get monetized, but it's not like you're making big money. You know, you make a little bit, but the more you put out, the better it gets. And so I think most men have that programmed in them that they have to provide, right? And so, yeah, that was the biggest thing when it came to work here initially for me for the first 6 months before I actually started putting out my first video. It was really a struggle for me to feel like I was being useful for the family, like I was an asset, because I felt like I wasn't outside of taking care of the girls and
Oh, there's
doing
everything. You do
yeah, I
everything.
would do everything in the house to make myself feel useful, but I still wouldn't feel useful enough because I wouldn't have income coming in. We have the money that we came over here with, but there was no steady income, so I really it really affected my psyche. It really made me feel like, man, you got to get going. You got to do something. I even told my wife, like, I think I'm just going to go work, do some manual labor. I don't care if they don't pay me. I'll go scrub a butcher shop, something, just so I feel like I'm doing something. And despite the fact that I was doing or trying to do everything at home, but like I say, it's a man thing, right? It's cosas de los hombres. I don't know. But work for you has changed as well.
Yeah, it has changed. Everybody always asks me, all my clients and my friends always ask me, like, hey, how's work been? How is it different with the adjustment and everything? And I'm not going to lie, the 7 hour difference is a good and bad thing. I always say good thing is 7 hours ahead because it gives me time to do things that I want to do, like go to the gym, go to yoga, go have coffee with friends, or do things that when I was in the US was cut short because everybody would start calling or emailing or texting, whatever, at 10 o'clock in the morning. And so when that happened, it cut my morning short. And so this time I get 7 hours of solo time or just to like catch up on things. So that way, when people do start calling me or texting, or I actually have already done the major blunt of the work, right? It has been hard though, because on days that I want to go to sleep early with my daughter, because I tend to nurse her to sleep, um, I have to get back up because I still have text messages coming on, because around 9:30, 10 is about 2:30, 3 p.m. US time. So usually people are like, okay, after lunch, oh, I have this, I need done, or whatever the case may be. I just feel like that tends to be my busiest time. And the balance needs to be that I need to prioritize my sleep. And one day I'll get there, right? It's just been a year, and I know that seems like a lot of time, but it's been a lot of time of adjustment too. And so I am also thankful that that I get to sleep in. That my husband, that's why he's learning to do the girls' hair and take them to school, because I sleep in because I work late. But I try to cut it off about midnight here, and then start all over again the next day. So I always have the guilt of like, oh, I'm not being a mother enough. I'm not being a great wife and all these things during that time. But then afterwards, it's like, okay, time to catch up kind of situation.
Yeah. The next topic, we've talked about our relationship and work. And the other thing is our children, kids here in Spain, and our children's experience in particular has been truly positive. It's
Yeah.
been such a great experience for our children because we ask our girls every day, ¿Cómo les gusta estar aquí? Les gusta España? And constantly the girls are like, we love it. Nos encanta. Nos encanta. They're in love with their teachers at their school.
Yeah.
They love going to their colegio. They love their friends. And Spain in general, everywhere we've been in Spain, I'm not going to say just Valencia, but Spain in general, Spaniards have a very good disposition towards children. It's a great place to raise children because kids are allowed to be children. They're not, look,
Screaming and
yeah.
kicking and playing and being loud. No one is telling them like, look, giving you the bad eye, like control your kids. It's more of like, oh, laughing with them because they're probably remembering how they were as children. And I think that's where we lost ourselves too back in the US. It's like people forget that we were once were children too. We were loud, we were rambunctious, we were outgoing, and now it's just like, okay, it's time to be adults. Psh, like everything else needs to be shut off, you know?
The really nice thing is people here engage with children. It's not like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
they just allow them to be kids and they don't
No.
look at you a different way, but they engage with them. You know, I had the nice experience of going on a field trip with my daughter, our youngest daughter Nova. I went with her class on a field trip to the Mercado Central, the Mercat Central here in Valencia, and it's this big indoor market, right? And we're with her class and her professor, and we're walking around, and the market is full. It's full of people, old, young, everywhere. Every vendor shop that we stopped at, we stopped in front of a fruteria, we've stopped in front of el puesto de mariscos, and every vendor would engage with the children. Ah, hola niños, ¿cómo están? And they'd explain the different fruits, and they let them pet the eels and the fish, and just everybody is engaging with the children and with smiles, and even the just the regular people that were there shopping, right? The shoppers, they people would just stand aside, let the kids walk by and smile and hola y cómo están and chat with the children, and it's such a beautiful feeling because you have to live it. If you have kids and you happen to come to Spain, you're going to be able to experience that, right? Because it's such a great experience. And we go, and it's not just like the Mercat Central, this one experience.
At parks too.
Parks. We go to the corner store. There's this corner store across the street from where we live. And there's two young men that work there. They must 18, 19, 20-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
They absolutely love our children. You know, we walk in and they're like, hey, hola, tío. You know, they say hi a las niñas. Oh, they give them free stuff. And it's everyone. Everyone engages with children here and they talk with them. And it's really, really nice, you know, and it's even opened up our children more. You know, the girls, not that they were ever, you know, completely shut in or introverted, but now they speak more freely with adults, right? Yeah. It's a very, very unique experience for our children. And I think Spain is a great, great place to raise children. Aside from the fact that people are very engaging with the children, the schooling system, we absolutely love it. The way the kids are being taught here, the way our kids are being taught. And
just all the things that they like teach them too. And I think I've touched on this topic in another video, but the field trips, like they actually are like really, really hands-on with the kids here. Was it last month? Last month was the art. They were learning all about artists. And so they took them to art galleries. They took them to all kinds of different theaters, like the different types of art, right? Mm-hmm. And so every time it's just now when we're out, Nova the other day, remember at the park, was like, look.
She saw a picture of Starry Night, and right away she's like, "Mira, papá, es la pintura de Van Gogh."
And I was like, what?
Yeah, like
and
Vincent Van Gogh. Yeah.
It's just so cool.
Yeah, our youngest daughter did surprise us the other day. We were watching some TV show, and the musical background on the show was Vivaldi's Four Seasons, and she walked into the room and she's like, Vivaldi. You know, and it was something that they learned during the art project of their school. And so little things like that make us excited as parents, right? That your kids are actually learning and enjoying learning, right?
Right.
And so the following topic that we'll hit on, since we already talked about our children, is the obvious one, healthcare, right? We have had a couple of experiences with the healthcare system here. I've taken our oldest daughter to the dentist a couple of times. We took our youngest daughter to the medical doctor. She got sick. I've been to the dentist here as well and the doctor, and they've all been really positive experiences. Really, the dentists are amazing. And I mean, working in dentistry myself, back home, some dentists, unless you go to a pedodontist back home, you know, they're really a lot of times not willing to be as acquiescent with the children. You know, it's like, hey, I get in, get out, I got to work. So if you're not going to behave, I'm not going to see you, or we're going to strap you down. And here, we went to a general dentist with my youngest daughter. She had 2 cavities on opposing teeth. She needed treatment. And I asked the dentist, do you guys give any sort of conscious sedation? Do you give her any liquid to calm her down? She's like, no, we don't do anything like that. She's like, but we'll see how she does. And they didn't let me go back in there with her, right? A parent's first instinct is to go back there with them, despite the fact that I know that it's not the greatest idea to have the parent in the operatory when your child is getting worked on. And so, being on the other side of the coin now, I sat in the waiting area and my daughter walked off. She was a little scared, so there was a couple of tears in her eyes. And so I'm sitting in the waiting area just waiting to hear crying, screaming, anything, right? And no, 20 minutes later, she walks out. Half her face is numb, so her face is hanging a little bit. But she was completely happy. She was like, papi, la dentista me gustó mucho, fue muy buena onda. They had a little TV there for her, so she was watching cartoons as they did her treatment. And it was just a really good experience for her. For Nova, she got a fever. No, she fell.
No, she fell.
Yeah, she fell from
sick. She fell.
Yeah, she fell. She fell from a very tall playground. Hit her rib cage. She fell on her side, so her ribs were sore for a couple of days. So just to be sure, we took her to the medical doctor, and the doctor was an older doctor, a very older doctor, but really nice as well. You know, just kind of helping our daughter. She checked her. Our daughter was fine. but we've had nothing but positive experiences with the healthcare system. It's nice to know that we have access to healthcare no matter who we are, no matter who you are, that you have access to healthcare
Yeah.
here, which is one of the scary things of back home. It's common knowledge that the healthcare system is a little more rough back home and the prices are more expensive. So that is a that has been a very positive experience for us.
Yeah.
The next thing on the list, and we've kind of touched on it already, talking about kids and um, everything, is the community here, or the sense of community here. And it's funny because my wife and I have this joke that if we have an appointment and we have to get somewhere at a certain time, we have to leave well in advance because we know we're going to bump into neighbors. Here, it's not small talk. Here, when you bump into a neighbor or a friend downstairs, it's not just, oh, hi, hey, I got to go yet. No, 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 no. You better make time because people are going to stop you and be like, hey, ¿cómo estás? ¿A dónde van? ¿Van al cole con las niñas? ¿O a dónde vas? ¿Y cómo está? ¿Y la familia? And so you have these interactions that will last you a couple of minutes. And funny thing, I just went to the market right now to get our dinner. I went to get some chicken and some fruit, some veggies because we're going to make dinner tonight. And I kid you not, every place I stopped at the lady who sells us chicken, Loli, and hola Loli, ¿cómo estás? And we're talking about her day, and she's talking about my day, asking me about my family. Then I go to our produce guy, Emilio. Hola Emilio, ¿qué tal? Pues estoy cansado y que necesito un cafecito. And so it's another interaction there, right? That lasts a couple of minutes. Yeah, you don't just go and you buy things and thank you, bye. No, no, no. You have an interaction. And then I walked by our butcher. I didn't even get anything at the butcher, but she's like, hola, guapo, ¿cómo estás? Y ¿cómo está tu bella esposa? And so I stand there and you chat again. And then leaving the market, I bumped into one of the trainers from the gym. Hey, Pekka, ¿cómo estás? And it's another 5 minutes. And so that appetite for connection that we all have as humans, I feel like here, it's easier to nourish yourself. You nourish yourself with these small interactions that might last you 3, 5, 10 minutes, but you go out for a simple errand and you come back just full, like you're overflowing with connection. Like, oh, I spoke to him, and I got home and I told my wife, like, hey, pues hablé con Emilio, y hablé con Loli, hablé con Pekka.
And I'm like, how's everybody?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm wanting to know too.
Like, you just talk to everyone, and it's really nice and it's so fulfilling. For us, we really kind of grasped at forming a community because we had none, right? We showed up here with no community. And luckily, it was very simple. And because the Spanish people are so open. I mean, community is like the nucleus, right? Yeah. Here, you notice it right away. Community is the nucleus, the family, the community, the people that's around you. It's part of life here. And it's probably the biggest part of life here from what we see, right? From an outsider's perspective.
Everybody does and take the time and the opportunity to get to know you. And when they run into you, like hugs, kiss, kiss, hug, kiss, kiss, like Nacho Libre. And they tend to like really genuinely want to know how you're doing. And it's reciprocated. And it's just then you keep building and keep seeing them every day. And then you just form these communities. And just Spain is just such a great community hub to do that in.
And so part of that forming that community obviously is the language. We were very fortunate enough, and one of the main reasons we chose Spain as a place to move to once we left the United States was because we spoke the language. And even being Spanish speakers, you still have to learn different words, right? Because we speak a Spanish that is tied to Mexico, right?
Yeah.
And here it's the same language, but not the same, right? They have different phrases that they use here that we weren't used to. And but knowing the language, having a good solid base with Spanish, has really, really helped us just a ton because you're able to communicate with people, and just like these little conversations, these little interactions that we have with our neighbors that have really helped us kind of form these bonds is because we could speak to them. We have a lot of expat friends and families and that we know here that don't have the same experience because they don't speak the language. And we always encourage them to. We tell them, hey, come out with us. Let's go out to a different place. Let's go to a bar. Let's go eat.
You have to practice.
You have to practice. You have to practice. And even if that means getting a teacher, right? Getting a teacher, going to classes, but really working on that, it's just going to make the experience of moving to Spain or even just visiting Spain so much better if you know the language. It
Yeah.
just makes it so much easier.
And then there's also like, for me, like there's different words, and I'm always relying back to my husband, going back to the relying on him, but also me putting myself out there and integrating myself and knowing that I'm going to sound like a toddler and getting out of my inner voice and saying like just do it, like just talk, they will understand. If not, they'll correct you. Getting inside outside of my ego, right? And fixing my ego and saying like I can do this, I've done much harder things, I'm going to integrate myself, I'm going to mess up, but I'm going to learn, and I'm going to learn this way by integrating myself and messing up, because that's how people grow and learn, right?
No, but that's a really good point. We're not the same people that we were a year ago.
Yeah.
We've grown. I've grown out of my show.
Españolas.
Yeah.
Pero
Español.
señora.
Española ella. And so what does the future hold for us, right? What does the future hold? We've been here for a year. And so what comes next? Well, we are going to stay here for a second year, for sure. We've already signed our a contract for a second year. It's not going to be here in Valencia, though. We love Valencia. Valencia is a great place, but we do live in a very urban part of the city. I mean, Valencia is the third largest city in Spain, and
Yeah.
we live practically in the center of it. And so there are parks, there is some nature, but you have to kind of go to nature, right? We have to bike 10, 15 minutes to go to the Jardín del Turia. We can go to the Parque Central, but right around in our area, there isn't anything directly where you would see like trees or grass or no, it's more of a concrete jungle, if you will, to use that term from the US. And so we did make the decision to move to Gandia. Gandia's, we made a video about Gandia. It's about 70 miles south of Valencia. It's on the coast, but it has mountains. It has the beach. We're going to be living right on the beach. And so just to satisfy that little access to nature that we yearned for and our children as well. We
Yeah.
want them to be able to run outside and have their feet touch the ground, the dirt, the grass, whatever the case is.
Grounding effect that we need.
Yes.
All of us.
Yes, and to breathe a little bit of a cleaner air. Since we do live in the center of Valencia, we have the one of the major train stations right next to us, and all the bus lines are here, and there's always constant construction around us. And Valencia is growing, right? It's
Yeah.
growing because there's a lot of people like ourselves, expats who are moving in, and so the infrastructure has to keep up, and so it's a big city and it's becoming bigger. And so for us, we just wanted a little bit more nature. And we considered several places, the north of Spain, but my wife doesn't like the cold too much. And so, we're moving a little bit further south. But the decision is to stay in Spain because we are in love with it. We love the people. We love the gregariousness, how people are so open to just talking and spending time with you. And the food is fantastic. Our children love the food here. They can't get enough of it.
We can't get enough of it.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
just like, I have a problem. I know. I'm fixing it. I'm going to the gym more.
Lo único que nos falta es el salsita picante. That's it. But we get our fix. We go out and we buy our chiles habaneros and everything. But the food is fantastic. The people are great. The climate is great. The wine, everything. It's just such a beautiful place to live. Obviously, we are fortunate with the fact that, we came here with jobs, so we're not searching for jobs here.
Yeah.
And so that has been a big plus, a big positive for us. But we are going to stay here in Spain for another year because we love it. The experience has been great. It's been positive all around. And we hope that we are a positive on the country as well. Because obviously being expats moving in and Spain growing as it has, and with there's an anti-tourism movement in several of the big cities because, Airbnbs are taking up a lot of the housing in these bigger cities. And so, the locals are finding trouble finding places to live or affordable places to live. And so one thing that we strive to do is be a net positive on the country, right? How are we helping those around us as opposed to taking, And so we do that by incorporating ourselves into the community, helping our community in any way we can. And we've done that before and we continue to do it.
Going to local markets, going to local cafes. And I feel like it just helps us to integrate too and to help and not feel like we're a burden, but because I do understand that there's a housing crisis, we try to help as much as we can.
Yeah, and it can be something as simple as seeing someone in need and just helping. Oh, you see, we one thing that we love to do is we love street artists, right? People who are out there playing guitars, and it's not only young people, right? You see
Older
people of
people.
older generation playing their accordions outside or whatever, and so we make it a point. Every time we walk by someone, our children will sit down and listen to them, and then we always donate, and so it's a big part of giving back for us. And we teach our kids to always give because we never know when we might find ourselves in a situation when we are in need, right? So we always try to reciprocate and like, hey, help, 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 because one day it might be you who needs the help. The Spaniards, the Spanish people, make it easy for you to want to help and to be part of the community. It's a really, really interesting place. I think it's a phenomenal place to be.
Yeah.
It's not the perfect place. I'm not saying Spain is a utopia. It's not. The government has its own scandals here. There's a housing crisis, but I think the people and the community, the gastronomy, it, it's a very unique place, and we are in love with it.
We just hold so much gratitude that we were able to do this and we were able to share with you guys and create this channel and share with you guys, continue like our journey. And it's kind of like you guys are along for the ride as we figure out what our future holds and what we've been up to too. So we appreciate you guys as our community, our YouTube community, and always liking and subscribing and commenting and sharing, and jump on our social medias. We tend to post stories on there of our day-to-day lives if you guys want more content and just of that nature. So we do hold so much gratitude and thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much, guys.
Until our next video.
Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.